We start off today's show with the latest 49ers injury news. An off day for San Francisco today. They're back on the practice field tomorrow. Darrell Luter Jr., the fifth-round rookie out of South Alabama, still on PUP because of that bone bruise, hasn't practiced up to this point. Austin Bryant, an undisclosed injury. The defensive lineman, been having a pretty solid camp. Robert Beal, who was drafted this year out of Georgia, and Kalia Davis, who was drafted a year ago out of UCF, both sat out of practice on Tuesday for undisclosed injuries. The big one here is Jaylon Moore, carted away because of a knee injury. We're not sure any further updates as for the severity of that knee injury, but why this is a little bit concerning if it is a bad injury. He's been playing left tackle when Trent Williams does not. If Trent Williams is taking a rep off or he's sitting out of practice, it's been Jaylon Moore, who's drafted by this team a couple of years ago, who's been anchoring the left side of that line of scrimmage. And the issue here is that last year's swing tackle, and Colton McKivitz, is now the starting right tackle. So that takes some depth away from this Niners offensive line. And I had a huge problem with this during draft weekend when San Francisco neglected to draft a right tackle or even a swing tackle, and instead they went with the kicker in Jake Moody. And I hate how San Francisco did not invest in this position during free agency and during the NFL draft, because injuries along the offensive line can certainly curtail any plans that you have of making a deep playoff run because of the importance at that position. So if Jaylon Moore is out for an extended period of time, Niners are going to start pressing a little bit because they don't have a lot of tackle depth at right tackle or left tackle. Now you look at the Niners positional rankings going into 2023, and this goes to show you that they don't put a massive importance on the offensive line. They are paying a lot of money to Trent Williams, of course, but their overall offensive line ranking, according to Sharp Football Analysis, 16th in the NFL, quarterbacks 19th because Brock Purdy is still a relative unknown. You have Trey Lance, an unknown, and Sam Darnold, who's been a bust up to this point. Running backs, number 1, wide receivers 3, because there's a lot of star power there. Front 7, second, because of that aforementioned star power. Secondary 12th. Head coach 4th, and then their team health ranking last year, 24th among 32 teams. Up to this point, they've been somewhat healthy outside of the injuries that we just discussed. But sticking on the point of the offensive line, 16th ranked unit in the NFL, and they are paying the 16th most money at that position group along the offensive line at $44.5 million. So I disagree here with the lack of investment into the offensive line because of how pivotal it is for you looking to throw the football, but to run the football as well. And then you see the other team spending rankings there on the screen as well. Defensively, they actually invest a lot of money on the defensive side of the football, which is why partially they had the number 1 defense in the NFL last year. Total defense 6th, defensive line 2nd. That's going to go up with this Nick Bosa contract extension. Linebacker 5th, cornerback 21st, and safety 27th. Those latter 2 position groups because San Francisco is pretty young there. So the offensive line, it's a concern for me. I'm going to continue to call it a concern because I'm calling a spade, right? Do you agree with me or disagree with me? Is the offensive line your biggest concern for San Francisco going into 2023? Give me a Y for yes or an O for other, and then list what that concern is. Before we continue to progress on today's show, I was looking at Fanatics, looking at some Niners gear for this season. This shirt caught my eye. A retro NFL Jam shirt with Steve Young and Jerry Rice on it with their rankings from back in the day on that video game. You got to get yourself this shirt. Limited time only. It's on sale right now. And it's one of those shirts where you walk into a bar, you walk into a social event, somebody's going to see that. They're going to stop and be like, yo, that's a really fresh shirt. Chatsports.com/49ersjam. You use that link. It's on sale right now. Again, limited time only. We'll put that link in the comment section and in the description of this video. While I do have concerns about the offensive line, especially at right tackle, and we're going to see what this offensive line is made of next week in these joint practices against the Las Vegas Raiders, Colton McKivitz, credit where credit is due, he's looked the part. and he's had a strong training camp so far. That's a relief. This can change going up against other teams, but against his teammates and some good defensive linemen on this Niners roster, he's played relatively well. He's taking over for Mike McGlinchey at right tackle. Mike McGlinchey was a very good run-blocking right tackle. He was about average in pass protection, so can McKivitz be a little bit better there? The issue, last 2 years, he allowed a 7.5 pressure rate. That would have ranked 62 out of 67 tackles last year if you combined 2021 and 2022. But he understood it was a big offseason for him. He understood that he was going to be penciled in as the starting right tackle. Did he put in a lot of work? Is he progressing in his NFL career? Because on Tuesday, he was good, and he helped spring free 2 long runs for this Niners offense, which didn't win the day against the defense on Monday, but came back and rebounded with a really good performance on Tuesday. McKivitz continues to play like this. It'll ease a lot of my concerns and a lot of your concerns. From right tackle to left tackle, even at 35 years old, Trent Williams is dominating, whether it's in team drills or in one-on-one drills. Yesterday against Drake Jackson, he was his big brother. He basically threw him right to the ground and was so dominant in that rep. If Trent Williams and Colton McKivitz can pair up to be really strong anchors at left tackle, right tackle, it's just simply going to allow this Niners offense to be much more successful, productive, and efficient in 2023, especially when you've had this organization overcoming all of these quarterback injuries, but you got to keep these quarterbacks upright if you have any hope of winning a Super Bowl. And given how much money you're paying players on this roster, how high your salary cap is, how much you have invested on this season alone, you just can't afford to have bad play in critical areas that can curtail a lot of your success. Now, I'm complimenting the offensive line here, but we know that the 49ers defensive line is a very good unit. Of note yesterday, and we talked about this on the show, they did bring in Taco Charlton, who the Dallas Cowboys drafted over T.J. Watt back several years ago. He had a would-be sack and was good on one-on-one drills. Can he be a Chris Kosaric project? Potentially. He's more of a depth piece, but has always had some ability, and yesterday would have had a would-be sack in training camp. The same can be said for Javon Hargrave and Javon Kinlaw. So the 2 Javons also playing well in training camp. And you knew that Hargrave was going to play well, right? That's why the Niners signed him to that 4-year, $84 million contract. The big question, Javon Kinlaw. Shout out to Javon Kinlaw for proving everybody wrong up to this point. Because up to this point in his NFL career, since getting drafted in the first round in 2020, he's been an absolute bust. Hasn't sacked the quarterback, hasn't been available enough, but he's playing really, really well. He basically has won every one-on-one drill, and he's popping in team drills. This is the best that Javon Kinlaw has ever looked. Part of the reason why he hasn't been able to display his level of ability that made him a first-round pick coming out of South Carolina in 2020, he's been injured far too much, which has altered and damaged his production because he hasn't been able to stay on the field. Knee issues have been a massive problem in the first 3 years of his career. But him performing well this year, and he certainly feels the fire. The Niners did not exercise his 5th-year option, so this is the final year of his rookie contract, would bolster defensive tackle. And him as a backup defensive tackle behind Javon Hargrave, the big-ticket free agent signing, as well as Eric Armstead, only makes this Niners defensive line even deeper and even better. So if he plays like he's been playing and performing in training camp, and can be a very good depth piece to help this team against the pass and against the run, the latter category they really struggled with in the playoffs last year, especially against Philadelphia. That's great news for San Francisco. Also great news is the fact that Deebo Samuel is in much better shape this year. And here's a look at him at Niners training camp. He just looks to be slimmed down, and because of that, seems to be a lot quicker. Kyle Posey's done a great job with his Niners training camp write-ups, and I found this funny that when trying to evaluate and read into the quarterback play, it seems as though some of these writers and content creators are so biased that I can't get honest evaluations of some of these quarterback performances, but some of these players as well. I feel as though Kyle Posey, he's right down the center line, and I was reading his article yesterday, check his workout, and I thought that he had a good write-up on Deebo Samuel because this is pretty telling here. He said, Brandon Ayuk is the talk of the town, but Deebo Samuel looks like a different person through a few practices. To me, looks more flexible. He gets in and out of his breaks quicker and is separating at a higher frequency thanks to that. There haven't been a lot of focus on drops for Deebo yet. He's still a tank in the backfield and on screens, which shouldn't surprise, but Samuel looks closer to his all-pro form in 2021 than the wideout from last year. And if Deebo Samuel can return to that 2021 all-pro form, I've said this a couple of times here on the show, because of the change stylistically with how the game of football is played in the NFL, this could be the best Niners offense of all time, the most productive. And this is an offense that could put up the best numbers that we've ever seen from any offense in the history of this organization because they throw it more now and rules are changed to benefit the offense, but also, scoring is up in the NFL right now. And you just look at all of the weapons that the Niners have on that side of the ball. All-Pro 2021 Deebo Samuel in 2023 just makes this team really difficult to stop. Let's round out with the kicker conversation. Jake Moody, he's been displaying the boot throughout camp, and on Tuesday, 5 of 6. He did miss from 43 yards, but at the end of practice, Jake Moody, we know he has a big leg. He hit a 60-yard field goal with room to spare. So his leg, I hope, is treated as a special weapon because Kyle Shanahan had grown so conservative with Robbie Gould. Even when the Niners were on the opposition side of the field, 40, 45-yard line, he'd either punt or he wouldn't go for it or he wouldn't try to out Robbie Gould out there because he wasn't confident in his leg. With Jake Moody, we might see some 60-yarders this year where Kyle Shanahan gets a little bit more aggressive with his decision to kick the ball in between the uprights. If you enjoyed today's show, we appreciate you. Give us a real one down below. And as you venture down to the comment section, don't forget to hit that subscribe button as we approach 82,000 subscribers. And if you want to interact with me on social media, Twitter, Instagram, @Chase_Senior. Always love chopping it up with the faithful. We'll catch you next time here on the show. Hope you all have a great day.